Hello. You are listening to the Carroll Connection with your host, Jared Carroll.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Carroll Connection. I am your host, Jared Carroll, here to bring you guys another great episode. I did want to take a chance to shout out last week's episode 113 with Miles Askeles. Came on the podcast, he's a music producer. So we talked about how he got into that career. We talked about him living in LA for a little bit, the differences between LA and then living in New England, kind of the comparisons, traveling, experiencing new places. Great episode. Check it out, thecarrollconnection.simplecast.com. Also available Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all the major listening platforms. If you like to watch your podcast, check it out at YouTube. Just search Carroll Connection. Should come right up. So definitely worth checking out. I do all these videos. I hope you guys would actually check it out and like watch them, but it's cool if you don't. I get it. I understand. Hopefully, right? So for this week, bringing in another great guest for episode 114, Danny Andrews.
How's it going?
Good to have you out here, and I'm glad that you want to be a part of this podcast. I've been seeing you've been doing some great things in Twitch and stuff like that, and we'll dive into that a little bit later in the podcast. Just a little quick, just kind of who you are and what you're doing currently, so everyone kind of get a feel for that.
Well, I'm Danny Andrews. If you don't know me, I do quite a lot of stuff. I'm working on getting back into my sales job. I'm working for DPW now, but I've done plenty throughout life. I was in the military for a little bit. I'm a certified aquarist, so I can do fish tanks and stuff like that. I've had lizards my whole life. I've done plenty of sports, every sport you could imagine. I could do a little bit of everything.
We got a journeyman here, got everything. This is going to be a great podcast, guys. So, and we'll, like I mentioned, also does Twitch streaming as well. And that's something that you've been really pushing lately. And I love people in the content space, and anyone that I see doing content like of that nature, I always want to get them on the podcast, get you some eyes on your stuff. So hopefully we can get some viewers onto your stuff.
Definitely appreciate it.
How I like to start the podcast is usually family dynamic, like I mentioned off podcast. So I'll let you take the floor with that, kind of whatever you're comfortable with sharing, and I'll let you go with that.
Well, it's, I have my parents, they're still together, which in this day and age is pretty surprising. Even themselves is pretty surprising, but it's them and then my two brothers. So it's been the five of us, for 31 years now. Well, I guess it'd be 23 because of my brother, but regardless, I've been there, the more important part. But yeah, it's been, I grew up in Seekonk pretty much my whole life. I was in and out, I lived in Pawtucket for a little bit, but still, was around Seekonk regardless. Now I live in Swansea, so it's a little different, but lived with my parents, for quite some time, and, thrown parties there and had a great time at my parents' house for the time being.
Yeah. And I think I always like to start with this, and I always like to explain too, for any new listeners too, of why I start with family dynamic is we're telling kind of like your life story, and we're trying to go from best I can. Sometimes I bounce around all over the place. It's a podcast, people. Give me some slack.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
We try to go from the beginning and we work our way through. And I think talking about family really establishes kind of like the foundational pieces of like the conversation. So people kind of like get a feel from where you're coming from. And like you did mention, most parents don't stay together in this time. And I've noticed that a lot when doing the podcast, and like, I'm not like some type of psychologist or anything, but like I always like get super like analytical about like looking into like how people are raised, where they come from. Are their parents together? Are they from a single parent home? Like, are their grandparents raising them? Like, what's their dynamic like? Because a lot of what we go through later in life stems from that childhood.
For sure.
So I always find it super valuable to kind of like dig a little bit and like to see how the structure is. Because I do believe that's important, especially knowing that you had siblings too. Like,
true.
That's usually like your first friend.
Yeah.
So I think that's super important to talk about. Yeah. Same way. My brother was like literally all the time, just butting heads, fighting.
Constantly.
So it's like, I think it's always important to talk about this. And as we kind of transition into like sports and like, because I know you mentioned playing some sports, whether it's just playing pickup, like I know playing some football Sunday. So you guys won't hear this till Monday. So sorry. But like,
we'll talk about it then.
But like being able to make friends through different activities and stuff like that, I'll kind of let you take the floor and talk about some maybe the hobbies that you did and like kind of growing up and like your experience growing up.
Yeah, well, I mean, I got into a lot of trouble when I was a kid, not like, police trouble, but like with my parents type of trouble. So I was grounded quite a bit. I played a lot of video games because I just was home. I was always stuck at home for the most part. But eventually, I did play soccer. I played basketball. I didn't get to play football. I had too many concussions before I even got the chance. But anyways, I played a bunch of sports, met people through, sports and whatnot. But then when I was 15, I started working. So I kind of stopped really doing any organized sports, and then just whatever came about at that point, was going. But I was about money, so that's pretty much it. I needed to get my money as soon as I could and just kept going with that.
Yeah, I mean, it comes to that point too, especially you start hitting your teenage years. Like, you got to make money. Like, I mean, especially you want to start driving your car and have all these, like, you want to have a phone bill and like all these different expenses that start coming up in life. And I think it is super important to get a job, especially early. It teaches you a lot of cool, valuable lessons too. Like, I remember doing such odd jobs like early on. Like, I caddied for a little bit. Fucking hated that. I'm not a golf person.
Yeah.
Like, I hated
it's tough.
dealing with old rich white men and like.
But it's money.
Yeah, it was money. And then I worked at a movie theater for a little bit. I actually kind of like that job. Looking back in hindsight, like
hell yeah,
like because I mean, job. Like few hours out of the day, like because obviously all the movies going at one period. So then you have the like maybe 1 to 2 hours where there's nothing happening, and like you can kind of peep into the movies, get to see all the movies, and then as soon as the now being everyone gets out, you got to clean all the theaters. But like it was a pretty decent job. Like it was a cool, and like there's always little quirk jobs that you do growing up, which is always like super weird, like that you just kind of have to go through. And I think it builds character.
Yeah, the awkward learning stages, trying to figure out this job, that job, and all that stuff. I kind of got lucky because I was at Paizonis for 13 years straight after that. But, I did that the whole time. But I was different restaurants, different people, learning, different things everywhere, working your way through the ranks, learning different parts of the job. But it's always awkward when doing those odd jobs in the beginning.
Yeah, and I want to start talking a little bit too about like because I know you mentioned playing video games and stuff. Like, was this where a lot of it kind of stemmed from? Was like childhood playing video games, playing with friends?
Oh yeah, pretty much. I mean, even video games, like once I got online, like Call of Duty Modern Warfare, like, I met a lot of people through that, even people that I knew in town that I didn't even know that, did stuff that I enjoyed as well, because we never really communicated. All of a sudden we were playing games together, and then that's how you make better friendships, I'd say. Kind of like a sport to an extent. Sports, you got that camaraderie, the teamwork, but in a video game, you're out there in the trenches every single time with, your people, and you got to communicate with each other. And it's very similar, but when you're stuck in the house and you're playing video games, I mean, that's how you get out pretty much.
No, that's you're hitting it on the head too. And I think to hit on this point with video games, it's like, it's an outlet. And I don't think growing up, our parents necessarily saw it like that, because like video games were so new, at least the video games that we were really playing, and they didn't understand like you kind of mentioned, like this camaraderie with video games. Like you really got to like feel like you were hanging with your friends.
Yeah, literally.
And I think especially with like COVID and stuff, like we really got to see like a second wave of that too. And like even a little bit before that with like the whole Fortnite era, like that was like a huge, like, I mean, it's crazy to say, it's like, it's even still going on now. Like the fact that a video game can have that much like time period of length, because like,
and it's free.
Yeah.
They gave it out for free. Everybody played it, and they were like, oh, I'm going to meet some new people. I'm going to talk to some people. I'm going to have a great time. And then you watch streamers start doing it, and you're like, wow, this is great. And it's a huge community all of a sudden. And it's just a game that literally didn't even get a chance to be out originally, because the original makers and the way they made the game, they literally got laughed at the game conventions. They've only had the Save the World if you've ever even played it. Most people don't play the main game of Fortnite, but it's like a zombie game, but nobody even knows it, because they put out that multiplayer battle royale, and you just get that thrill, and then that was it. Everybody just took off with it pretty much.
I think the key too was like, it was kind of like just like this different style of gaming that we haven't really like seen like pushed this way, and like
never a building game, no way.
Yeah, building with like the 100 like people, especially because like I remember like getting your first dub was like the craziest feeling. Like it was greatest. Like the anxiety. Like if anyone who's a huge gamer can understand the feeling. Like they probably can relate to this conversation right here. But like
the chills you get at the end of the game.
I struggled so hard to get the first dubs. I mean, shout out to Eric Lazito. He was the one that really got me into this game.
Hell yeah.
Like he was playing this game.
Actually.
He was playing this game before I heard anyone I saw playing this game. Like, and I always give him credit for this, but it's like it was before, like it was like the beginning. This shit. He's like, dude, it's a free game. You could just play it, download it. I was like, it looks kind of dumb. And like I'd sit at his house and watch. I'm like, that's kind of interesting. And then I'd play with him a little bit. I would suck. I'm like, I always say this about my Fortnite skills. You know who J.R. Smith is, like the basketball player?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm J.R. Smith. I'm not going to win you a game, but I'm going to hit you some shots. I'm going to
be there.
I'm going to be there. I can be clutch sometimes, but like, don't rely on me. Because like, usually it's Henny Smith showing up and it's my boys bricking shots and like I'm missing left and right. But I remember we would play, and this is when like Loot Lake and stuff were there.
Yep.
We'd do like sky build and stuff. Eric was so big on the sky builds.
Dude, huge.
Dude, like
and tree games.
Tree games. Tree games.
Hang out in a tree.
Oh my god. Or like you could hide in the bushes back really well back then too. And like oh my, it's like bringing back like even if you guys can listen to like the joy that we have talking about these memories of playing video games.
Right,
like
that's half of the joy we had playing them.
Exactly. I mean, you could also hear the rage too. Like there's a huge rage. The controller's broken out, all this stuff. Like there's much. There's a lot of violence with it too. I can understand, but like that part, like the memories that you make playing video games, you reference it like kind of like sports, and like it is. I mean, they've created this whole like commerce part about esports where it's like huge it's very huge, and it's like. I mean, even think about like the 2K community. Like, dudes are playing like full on like careers, like playing 2K,
legit,
and making money and winning in tournaments and stuff like that. So like, people used to laugh at gaming, and like it's become this like such like pivotal part of like
society.
Yeah,
entirely.
I mean, think of dudes like Ninja and stuff like that who wouldn't like be anything without.
Without
video games,
without his ability to quick scope repeatedly, I mean, he would not be even relevant to anybody. Now he's a household name. He's in NFL commercials and shit. So I mean, he does pretty much what everybody wanted to do when we were young. We just didn't have the outlet to do it till now. Yeah,
and I think that's like a huge point to hit on. Is like we didn't know what this was going to become when we were kids. Like we were just like, this is fun.
Yeah,
and. I think I'm glad that we got to experience that before it became so competitive and so like
sweaty game.
Yeah, everything.
Stop. Oh
exactly. And I'm glad we got to experience that because I do think about like those toxic ass COD lobbies and like some of the stuff that would be said in those lobbies that'd be fucking it built character for sure. But like the fact that people would always go back to it too, like there would be like it was like the free zone where people could just like. Be their friends and just say fucking stupid shit and like no one's gonna like be offended and like people are gonna actually just play video games and have fun and just be in the moment. And I think that's what video games do a really good job of. Like, I mean, you have to be if you're gonna be any good. You have to be present and like
to be there.
Yeah, and I don't think enough people like truly understand that about gaming is like you have to be there. Like if you're like texting people or on the phone, like. I mean, we've all been there where like you got a girl calling you, you're on your FaceTime trying to talk to her. It's like, and the boys are like, dude, get on the game, like focus. Like there's this like aspect to it where you have to be focused. And like any craft that you do, whether it's sports, whether it's podcasting, whether it's streaming, whatever you do, you got to be focused on this aspect. And I think that's something that you can learn in different avenues. And I think it's cool that we went down this avenue with gaming because like, and we're obviously going to get more into it as we progress with the conversation later on. But like a lot of people, this is where especially nowadays, this is where the formation of friends really start to happen. Is like you go to school with people and then you're like, hey, you're going to hop on the game later? Like everyone hops on the game, especially living in New England where it gets cold in the winter and shit like that. So it's like
all school season.
Yeah. It's like part of the culture. And I think that's like, it's really cool. And like, it's going to be interesting to see where this virtual reality stuff kind of plays into a role and where this takes gaming, because it's like, it's scary, but exciting for anyone that's involved in this stuff. But like, it'll be really cool. And I want to turn a little bit back towards like kind of growing up, going towards like your high school, like senior year. And like, you're starting to get towards like everyone's favorite time, like the college, everyone looks at colleges and the different paths and like, kind of want to know like what path you chose to take and like kind of like maybe the reasons behind that, and like we'll build up to kind of like how you got to where you are now.
Well, Um, Neither one of my parents went to college, so it wasn't necessarily them like drilling it into me to go to college, go to college, go to college. It was more like, do what you got to do type of thing. If you got to work a lot, you work a lot. If you don't got to work a lot and you want to, do school and then, do your things after, do what you got to do. Me, I chose the other route and I went to the military immediately out of high school. And then I got kicked out for having females in my barracks. So
G shit.
yeah. So I mean, I thought I was gonna have a great time, and that was gonna be my, path, but that didn't work out too well because nothing works out too well, usually for me. But so I mean, once that, you know, backfired, I was like, all right, I'm just gonna aggressively, do my job and just try to be the best at my job. And I really probably was at one point. Anybody from Paizones would know me at the least at the time that I was working there because I was everywhere and I did a great job. But then I got to the point where I was like, I don't necessarily want to do this restaurant life, put my body on the line all the time type of thing. Let me, do something else, pick a different route. So I tried to get this sales job, which is similar. Well, the opposite side of the restaurant because it's a sales job to restaurants. So it was a fairly easy transition to an extent because I had already been, ordering food for the restaurants and doing all that stuff for so long that it just came naturally to me, in general. And the job went really well for quite some time. But then, more setbacks in life per usual. And, I had to do a couple odd jobs till then. And now I'm trying to get back into the sales job.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit, and obviously, whatever you're comfortable with sharing too about this military experience, because like I went through something kind of similar where I was going to go into the Navy, went to training and stuff like that. I was out because of medical stuff, so did some different comparisons, but like the experience of being separated and then being removed from the military, coming back. I've never really talked about this in the podcast, so this is kind of like a unique experience to talk about, and we could probably relate to this. Um, it's this weird feeling of like feeling like you're letting people down
Yeah.
when I came back. And I don't know if you could relate to that experience and if you want to go into it a little bit, like kind of like that feeling. It kind of relates to like the mental health stuff. And like some of my lowest moments were when I had to come back and face my family, face my friends, face the fact that like I thought I was going to be in the military and now that's gone. I have to figure out my entire life when I thought I had it figured out. So I'm curious to know if you had a similar experience to that.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I had full intentions of being there for life for the 20 years or, even longer if they let me. But, obviously everybody before you leave, they're like, oh, I can't believe you're going to go. I'm proud of you. I'm, so happy for you or, I'm scared for you, whatever they feel, don't go out there, do anything crazy type of stuff, but when I went to boot camp, I had the time of my life. Like that was an incredible time. And then I got out of boot camp and I was, doing my schooling and I had a great time. I loved the military. I was in the Navy. I loved the Navy. It was incredible, being there. But, I made some mistakes. So then coming back, I mean, I took a bus from Meridian, Mississippi for 36 hours to Providence. So, and that was just like the most like mind boggling trip ever because you're like, I can't even believe that my life just changed so drastically. And now I'm sitting 36 hours. I didn't even have a beard before I left on that trip. And I got a beard when I got back. Like, that's how much thinking and stress I was going through. Thinking, like, damn, I just screwed up my entire life. Not necessarily again. I guess I didn't screw up my life yet.
No, you're talking about in the moment, though.
Yeah, in the moment, I'm like, I cannot believe I screwed up my life. I'm like, this was my whole plan. Now my plan's out the window. I can't even believe this was like a thing. I was not expecting this whatsoever. I mean, I was ready. I did, the working out. I got yelled at. I did all the stuff that they wanted me to do. I did one thing wrong, and that's usually how it goes. Females tend to, do that to you, but it was a great time, but then to come back, it was just like, everybody's like, oh, I'm really sorry for you, really sorry for you. And you just feel like absolutely destroyed. And you're like, I don't even know what to do. I think I literally sat at my house for like a week. I didn't do anything for the whole week. I just sat there and I was like, I can't even believe I did that.
I can relate to that a lot. I mean, I never really talk about it. It's one of those things that I've talked about in therapy, but like, it was something that I suppressed for a long time was like coming back. And I never completed the boot camp. Like I didn't get past a certain part with like, they did some tests and I got sent back. And they gave me the option. It was like, go to a doctor, figure it out, and if you want to come back, you could. And I was kind of like, I was just so fucking all over the place. I was like, dude, like, what the fuck? Like, my whole life plan was like to do this. But like, life has a mysterious way of working out. And it was like it's what's they say? It's a redirection. It's not like, it's not the end of the road. It's just a redirection.
Yeah.
But in that moment, man, like everything that you said, I felt like, I remember, I think I was still in, I think of Chicago where the boot camp was,
Yeah.
and getting
Great
back,
Lakes.
yeah, and then you're getting sent back, getting on the plane ride. Like I was happy to come back, but like at the same time, it was like the fact that I have to go face everybody again after like I did all the goodbyes, did all that stuff, and I'm like, I have to do this, come back and do this life stuff now, and I'm like, it was just. Like I probably spent like same like a week probably just like mulling over my life. Like at the time, it was like I was having relationship issues because obviously I was supposed to be away and come back. Like I wasn't gonna go to school. Like I didn't know what I was gonna do. Like, and you go start doing jobs. Like I worked at Stop and Shop. I did 2 jobs. I worked at Stop and Shop. And then I worked. My dad works at Butler Hospital, so I did some security stuff there for a little bit too. So I'm doing 2 jobs at once, trying to figure out my life, and it was such a weird time. Like it's like
a fog almost.
Yeah,
it's like, you remember it like now because it's just so like disheartening. Like you're just so confused.
It's really trauma. What we don't acknowledge, a lot of like as men too, we don't really talk about our traumas, and like
never.
This is something that's like maybe this is a traumatic experience that we're able to bond over, and this is something that I didn't even know, to be honest, that we share this. So it's like, it's nice.
I had no idea.
And this is why I like doing this podcast, is like able to like share these moments and like relate. Cause like, obviously like I know you, I've played sports with you, we've hung around, but like to have intimate conversations about like your life and my life and like where we could actually relate on something that's trauma related and be able to talk about it openly on a podcast. Like this is what I envisioned. I would hope that this podcast would become. And I'm glad that we're able to relate like this, because like most people who are listening, you guys probably don't know what we're talking about, or like
or you could even imagine the feeling.
Yeah, like, and like some of the military guys who might listen, if they're in the military or have been in the military, can probably understand to a certain extent of like, because like I used to see people leave and how devastated they would be, because like you trained for this, like you worked so hard to get here, and then to have it removed, it's like, what the fuck? Like
even watching people get kicked out in boot camp was tough. Like, I mean, I watched a few buddies that they had to go. A couple kids with like some mental problems. A couple kids with, I remember one kid. You ever heard of Asmode back in boot camp? So like, if you did anything like kind of wrong, like let's say you were in week 6 of your training and you did something wrong, they'd kick you back a week. So you'd have to go.
Oh yeah, I heard some guys like that. Yeah.
But if nobody went, if like no class was coming up that had a week 5, you'd have to wait in the medical ward for like weeks sometimes. I know one kid, his appendix burst while he was in a PI, like a personnel inspection. Mm-hmm. His appendix burst and he ran, just stayed there for the thing, for the inspection. And then they took him down to the medical, and he was so hurt, he ended up waiting like 6 or 7 months for him to get healthy and for a class to catch up to the week that he was in. So he came into ours and he was like, this is horrible. Like that. He spent 8 months in boot camp. Like you're only supposed to do it for 2 months. I think we did it in 9 weeks. I think he spent 8 months there doing all that stuff. And it's tough to watch for some people,
Yeah. It's a really unique experience. And I'm glad that I was able to experience parts of it. Like, especially like going through the goodbyes, like going there, showing up there, like those like 24 something hours that you're up nonstop, like you're getting your head shaved, all this shit, like them yelling at you, go here, go here, go here, like
sending your clothes home.
It was just it was weird. Like it was so weird. And like, it felt like a fever dream because I wasn't there that long. It really felt like a fever dream. And like, I'm so glad that things worked out the way they did, because I'm in a great position now. But like, it took a while to put everything back together, put the pieces of my life and figure out how to rebuild this. Cause like, and I'm still trying to figure this out. Like there's parts of me that like, for even like emotionally, that I'm still trying to put together because of those things that have happened back then. And they all stemmed from that experience. And like, not enough people talk about that experience of leaving high school And like I've gotten a few people to talk about it, even going to college, like that it's like somewhat of a traumatic experience because like if you come from like a good family and a good like community and stuff to like and you have good friends and good relationships here, to separate and move away and just be surrounded by people you don't know,
Brand new people.
it's a traumatic experience. And like some people aren't, I hate saying it like this, but aren't built for that.
Definitely not. There's
And
quite a few people that aren't built for that.
yeah, and at first I was not. Like I'm one of those people that will be open and honest. Like I was not built for it at first. Like I didn't know. I was kind of sheltered. I grew up in like a pretty tight knit family, tight knit community. My friends are super close, and like that experience opened me up a lot. And I'm glad that it did because it turned me down paths that I never would have otherwise looked down. So we wouldn't probably be doing this if all that works out in favor. So
Literally, you never know how life would have been. I think about it all the time. Every day I wake up, I'm like, life would be drastically different if this, and this didn't happen. And I keep doing different things and hoping that it's gonna, work out for me. But who knows what would have happened differently? And I'm not saying in a positive or a negative way. It could have been horrible.
I know exactly. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean by
It
that.
could have been the worst time of my life, and I didn't even know it.
Yeah.
Maybe it was a benefit that I got out. Maybe I could have been somewhere crazy doing something crazy that I didn't want to do.
No, I totally agree with that. Changing the camera for us.
No.
Sorry for the audio listeners. But that people like might hear that and like might think it's like you saying, "Oh, I wish it was like that." But it's like no, like it's just like it's as someone I'm a heavy thinker, so like to ponder of what could be when you've gone through something like that literally is a career altering thing. So like we both could literally be doing something completely different in different countries now. That's the craziest thing.
Cities, states, anywhere.
And like to be back on the trajectory that we're on and trying to figure out where we are in this space, especially as content creators, trying to pave like path.
Pave the path.
Pave the path. Thank you.
No worries.
As someone who talks a lot, I think I'd get that right. But
it's a tough one.
Yeah.
Really
but to do that and like figure out our own lane and our own niche, like it's not fucking easy. Like it's not the easiest thing in the world to kind of navigate this space and trying to carve out your own niche. So I'm interested to know kind of like, obviously you mentioned you came back, you did the odd jobs, especially we mentioned this a little bit off podcast too, kind of like being like doing those different jobs and just being an adult, like kind of like talk about that experience where like you come to, some people just don't understand, you have to just do stuff to make money at a certain point. So I kind of talk to me a little bit about like your mental health too, a little bit about that point, like doing different jobs, trying to figure out your life. And you're still in this process. Like you're getting back to where you want to get to. So I'm kind of catching you in a unique period. So like kind of like even up to this point, I guess, kind of like your current state of like going through all this different journey to get where you are right now.
I mean, it's tough. Like I said, I was working, doing what I thought I was going to do forever for quite some time, and then, changed my mind after some realizations, and then did something different, and then it worked out for quite some time and then didn't work out. And, sometimes you got to just do what you got to do to pay bills. It sucks big time when you're trying to make a career and then the career doesn't work out, but you can't just give up and like, move on, especially, and then that was right before the pandemic too. So it was even tougher to try to like move on. Cause you're like, I was out of work in, let's say September. March was pandemic, and it was just everything shut down. So it's like anything I was looking for or was trying to do, even the job itself that I was doing, if I was there during pandemic, it would be tough. And then you're at home, and I decided to get a girlfriend right before that. Great thinking, because then I had a girlfriend. So I guess that kind of helped though. I probably would have been deep into my own head if I didn't have a girlfriend to take care of and live with and love. But if I could have been, it could have been different. But you got to do what you got to do to make money, pay your bills. Keep food on the table, pretty much. Even if you're living at home, you still gotta pay your bills. You still gotta figure out something. You need money. It's not like you have a plethora of money after your job and you're just like, oh, I don't need any more money. You're always gonna need more money. You're always gonna have more things you need in general. I mean, just to live. That's the crazy part. You need money just to live, not to, go buy the latest phone or, buy yourself a nice computer or video games or whatever. It's like just to live, you got to eat food. You have new clothes or clean clothes at least. You got to take care of yourself, and you need money. That's the society we live in. But, to get smacked in the face repeatedly when you're trying to, make it in life. And then you're like, you just keep getting slapped. How do you get back up? You just kind of, you kind of have to. You just get up and, try to put your best foot forward. Like they say, it's the saying, but that's the truth. You got to go. You can't just stop walking because you fell. You have to keep going.
No, you hit it on the fucking head. Like, a lot of people get distraught when they hit these road bumps or get slapped by life, and like they want to just quit altogether. And like, I'm big on like self-care days and like taking mental health days, and like people will push against that and say that's weak, but like I think it's knowing yourself to a certain extent, like, because just like the body can get sick, the mind can get sick. So if you're not taking care of your mind, it's like you do with your body, you're fucking yourself. And like you mentioned, the unfortunate part about the society we live in, you need money to survive. That's the truth. And what we don't talk about when it's in pursuit of things that we love doing versus what we have to do, it's a uncomfortable conversation that we don't like to talk about, because people want to just be innately happy, but that's not life. Life is unfair. Life is unjust. Life is not always happy. If life was always happy, we probably wouldn't have half the inventions that we do. Like, a lot of it comes from pain and struggle and trying to be better. Like, if we were always happy and content, nothing would really probably get done. Like, things would probably be very stagnant in life, and like people would probably get bored. Think about how people get bored so fast when they have so many luxuries in their life and they just want the next best thing.
You wouldn't even know what happy is in reality, because if everything was always good and fine and dandy, then you'd never have something to compare it to be happy about,
Yeah, I think that's fucking true. That's the fucking truth. Like it's always like the beauty with like pain and like sadness. Like, I always find it like nice in a way. It's like weird to say that, to like go through things like heartbreak or like sadness, or like when like a family member passes or something like that, to feel that pain. Because to me, it always reminds me that if I'm able to feel something this painful, that I cared for it that much, that I was able to care for something like that.
It means it made you happy.
Exactly.
It made you actually feel, great about it, so that when you lost it, you felt that terrible about it.
Yeah, and I think that's like part of the human experience that we're currently living. Obviously, whatever people believe in spiritually, you can believe in, but obviously there must be some place that we all collectively probably go to, and like we're all sharing the human experience together. And what's part of this experience is to experience all emotions, and I think it's healthy. But obviously, it could border danger where some people will lean into certain emotions way more than others. Like, some people can be extremely depressed. Some people can be extremely angry. Some people can be extremely greedy. Like, there's certain aspects of emotions that we could feel that can be negative. But if you look at them always through a negative lens, you're going to have a negative life. So, and this is, I think, part of the maturation process when we go through experiences like we've gone through is, and like you mentioned, you get knocked down, you have to self-motivate to get back up.
You have to.
It's the truth. Like, no one's going to do this for you.
No one. There's no chance. Even if your parents are supporting you, you're still going to have to get yourself up and do your thing. There's no chance that you're going to survive in the world without doing your thing for you. Even if, you might have like a rich boyfriend, rich girlfriend, whatever, you still have to do something for yourself regardless, because eventually you're going to be dead weight and nobody's going to want to carry that forever. So you got to take care of yourself.
That's the truth. No one's going to, like, I harp on that. Like, it's something that, like, I self-talk to myself, like, pretty much all the time, is like, you have to do it for yourself. No one else is going to do it for you. No one's going to feel sorry for you if you don't do it. No one's going to be like, oh, it's okay, like, you'll get it. No one's going to do that. If you got someone that can do that for you, great. But they're not going to do that forever. Yeah. They're not going to do that forever. No one feels sorry for you forever. Like, at a certain point, because, like, we all have our own shit. And like, I don't compare traumas to traumas because it doesn't do anything for anyone. Yeah, but like,
none of them really match up either.
They never, because like, my experiences are my experiences, and you'll never truly know my experiences and how they feel to me. And like, just like how I'll never know your experiences and how they feel to you, because we live different lives. And like, that is something that always kind of bugs me when people talk about, whether it's like relationships or job changes or family passing. It's like, oh, I got over it in this amount of time. Why are you still upset about that person? Or why are you still upset about that thing that happened? Like, how are you going to dictate how someone else feels about something? Like, you don't know what their life experiences are. Because like, I'm a believer that especially mental health illnesses and like physical, just as like physical things can be passed through genetics, I think mental stuff can be passed through genetics. So you never know what people are predisposed to. So it's like, it's an interesting walk that we do in society when we talk about different experiences and pain. And I'm glad that we were able to reach that level, especially with the military experience, walking through that, because I've never been able to talk to someone about that in the way that we were able to,
Right.
and to do it on a podcast. Like that's kind of, it's unique. Obviously there's like, I'm not like going so into a lot of the detail, but I probably like we do off podcast, but like that was pretty spot on. I kind of now want to turn into like what I've been looking forward to is how you got into Twitch streaming. Like what led you to this point to like, from just playing video games to like, I'm going to try doing this shit. I'm going to try streaming now.
Literally. So, I mean, I was talking to a few buddies when I was, they're constantly like, oh, let's hang out, let's hang out. I'm like, I'm playing this, I'm playing that. And they're like, you play kind of a lot of video games. I'm like, well, it's kind of like what I thoroughly enjoy. Like, I'd much rather play video games on a Friday night or a Saturday night, play with the boys on, whatever game, for the time, rather than go out to a bar or a club. I mean, granted, I've done it all. I've been to clubs, bars, whatever places you could imagine. I've probably been there before. But, I enjoy it. Sure, I'll enjoy a night out. I enjoy going out with friends, family, cousins, everybody. But I thoroughly enjoy playing my games. I like the mental stimulation of the trying to get the hand-eye coordination down, try to get better at whatever it is. If it's Rocket League, if it's Valorant, whatever game. So, that was just natural for me. So my buddies were like, you should probably try, streaming if you're gonna be playing like that, you might as well. So I was like, I'll give it a shot. So I started with my PlayStation, and then I was like, I got to get better. I got to get, good at this. So I got myself a PC. I got all the equipment, the camera, all the stuff, and I enjoy it. I enjoy playing games and talking to a community of new people, basically, because they're also people that enjoy the same things as me, rather than trying to, go to a group of people or go to a bar and try to relate with something that you might never relate on. The only thing you can relate on is alcohol. That's kind of tough. So, I mean, it's better when you, get into, a community of people that do the same things that you do, or could learn from you, or at least, might enjoy your company in general. Because, a lot of the people that I see, on Twitch or on, these apps in general, streaming services, they're looking for an escape too. They might have stuff going on at home and they're just trying to watch something, funny or something different. And, you can give them that basically, because, you're doing something that you're already doing, and you can relate to these people. And if they want to come in and vent about their day on your stream, I mean, I'll talk to you the whole time. I mean, obviously I'm playing a game as well, so it's kind of tough to do both, but, who cares about the game? I'll talk to my people. I'd rather talk to my people anyways. I play the game every day. Who cares? A lot of people are like, oh, it's competitive. I don't want to ruin my rank, this, that. I don't really care. I'd rather, talk to people that, either want to be talked to, or I get a lot of my buddies in there too. They like to talk and bullshit. And then if you want to play games with me too, you can add me, we can play, you can do whatever. You can tell people about my stream or do whatever you want, really. I'm trying to put together a nice community of people that enjoy, what I enjoy, pretty much.
I think that's perfect, man. Like, I think you hit it right home on the head with like that ending word, community. And when I look at this podcast, that's exactly kind of what I'm trying to do, is like create a community or a network, however you want to word it, of people who share like-minded things in the sense of like trying to pursue things a little bit bigger than themselves. Because maybe it's cliche, but I look at things kind of like legacy, like maybe like a Game of Thrones thing. Like it's like, I just love Game of Thrones, but
yeah,
the legacy aspect of like leaving behind something of worth of value, like impacting the people that you talk to on a daily basis. Definitely. And I think with social media and like the internet, we're able to reach so many more people than we've ever been before. And it'd almost be a disservice to not try to like make an impact in a positive way. And you could do that in a variety of ways. And we've seen that through the internet. And like one of the examples is to Twitch stream and play video games. Like, like you kind of just said right there too. It's not always even about playing the game. It's like there could be someone in your chat that just like happy to see you playing a game, happy to see you like on the screen doing something. And like the fact that you acknowledge them could be the highlight of their day.
Literally.
Because like you don't, like you mentioned, like you don't know what that person's going through, even just your viewer.
Yeah.
Like they could be having the shittiest day, and they're like, oh, I wonder who this person is streaming, and they hop in, and like you could be creating a relationship right there. Like you could be gaming with them in the future, and like we kind of talked a little bit about that, and I'll let you kind of dive into that too about who ends up supporting you when you start doing this stuff.
Yeah. Literally, your biggest supporters are always going to be strangers, people that you've never met that just meet you for the first time, and they're seeing you and they're like, I kind of like, where you're from in general, like, your mentality. I mean, I meet people from all over the world. I got, friends from Albania. I got friends from, the UK. I got friends from all over the world that I would have never met if I didn't do any of this, never played video games and never Twitch streamed. I'd never meet any of these people. I had a friend when I was playing Ark for a while. He was my friend for like 3 years straight, 4 years straight. He's from the UK. I've never met him in real life, ever. But we had a great, great connection until, some Arc things happened. But, when crazy things happen in video games, you never know, especially on a game that requires so much of your life. But you just have all these people that, might just have a good time with you. They want to have a good time with you. They see you having a good time, they'll have the good time with you.
Yeah, and I think that's like one of the cool things about like content creating that I've realized too. I was like, I'm really big into TikTok. I use that app a lot. As my viewers know, it's more relationship content on there. But like,
yeah, I don't use it enough at all.
Yeah, I would definitely say as someone. I mean, you could use Reels at this point. Like if you hammer to Reels, like on Instagram, you're good. But
I can't even tell the difference at this point. TikTok and Reels, I literally scroll through. It feels the same to me.
It's most of it. I mean, I literally take my TikToks and I bring them to Instagram for the podcast. I don't change any content wise.
Yeah, so I post it on TikTok and then it immediately puts on Instagram. I could even do it to Facebook, and it's all the same stuff.
Yeah, same thing. It's Facebook Reels too. Facebook and Instagram Reels, it's the same company. So it's company. Like, yeah, it's like Facebook
Meta.
Yeah, I look at it's more for the older people. Sorry.
Yeah,
but
sorry everybody on Facebook.
Yeah, but like, definitely I would encourage TikTok. I think it's it is the best social media app that is out right now. Like,
definitely.
I'm not just saying that because I like it. Like,
it has the best algorithm.
The best algorithm. It's ranked the highest. It's where people go the most for the most news. Like, it's got the youth that are more invested in that app. And like, unfortunately, for a lot of you millennials that don't like TikTok, we're not the youth anymore, so it's gonna go to where the people or the young people have the most attention directed towards, which is TikTok. So
got to keep up with the times.
It's the truth, especially as someone who creates content. Like, you can probably relate to this too. Is like you have to somewhat stay current on the stuff. Like, you got to be up to date. You got to know like more maybe social media stuff, but like trends and stuff like that. Like, you have to know this shit. Like, even like as a podcaster. Topic wise, like if there's like a really a major event that like for me maybe that crosses over into mental health, like I gotta somewhat talk about that at a certain point. Like,
definitely,
there's like an obligation to the craft itself to represent, and like maybe you could relate to that too. Is like if there's like maybe there could be some Twitch streamer drama. I don't know. I'm just kind of like talking on my ass.
Yeah,
but like,
there's quite a bit sometimes.
To bring it up and like even talk about maybe you talk about that too with like people you play with as you're playing. Like, I don't even know about the conversations necessarily, but like, I'm just kind of like giving examples, but like, you have to be up to date on stuff and you have to be willing to do it. Kind of walk me a little bit through about the process of becoming a Twitch streamer. Kind of like, I know we talked a little bit about off air, but like for the people who don't know, what is that process kind of like?
Well, I mean, when you first start Twitch streaming, you make an account, you can stream all day. I mean, you can literally stream all day, 24 hours a day if you want. The real task, though, is getting viewers and followers. So to become affiliated and, actually start monetizing your craft, you need to get at least 50 followers and average 3 viewers throughout your podcast. Throughout your stream, sorry. On a podcast. Basically same thing, because, I mean, if you look at Twitch right now, the biggest category is just chatting, and that's literally basically a podcast, but live. So, I mean, you could do either or. I'm thinking about doing both, to be honest. Not like podcasting, but doing the just chatting.
I mean, to be honest, I'm thinking about getting into that space too myself.
Yeah. I mean, the just chatting section is huge. A lot of people do that. All the big streamers, they do just chatting. If you want to build a community, just chatting is the way to go, because it's literally podcasting, but you're also talking to your community at the same time. So instead of, putting content together and then putting it out and then answering comments, you literally are right there talking to them directly. I mean, it's tough though, because obviously, you know, you have to directly interact, and the bigger you get, the harder it is to interact with everybody. So that's tough. But a lot of people, they make the mistake of streaming a real lot right away. Like they're like, oh, if I just stream all day every day, I'll get a bunch of viewers, I'll get a bunch of followers. And I did the same thing, and it does not work like that at all, because the way the Twitch algorithm works is you kind of have to have viewers to be viewed by other viewers. So, you know, people go like we said off air, they go for the big games. Like, I mean, I play Valorant and I, you know, play some of the bigger games, but they're tough to play because as a Twitch streamer, you're not going to get, you know, if Ninja's playing Fortnite, there's no chance that you're going to get random viewers, at least not a lot of them, you know, watching you play Fortnite when they see the best of the best playing Fortnite. So it's tough. You have to literally build your community to be people that want to hear you speak, basically hear you speak, or, you know, at least, you know, enjoy watching you screw up the game a lot, because that's pretty much what I do. But you know, people that enjoy, you know, that experience with you are gonna roll with you, and it's gonna be strangers always. It's not like, I mean, I have friends that definitely, you know, helped me out big time, especially like in the beginning trying to get viewers and whatnot. And you know, they come back every day anyways, but you know, they like to bullshit, and then we play together, you know, and have a great time. But like, I have a friend in from North Dakota, and I play with him every single day. I've known him for 5 years now, and he streams as well. So we watch each other's streams, we bullshit, you know, we have a great time. But that's pretty much how it goes on Twitch. You kind of have to build your community rather than trying to play with. It's like, you know, Valorant's a huge game. It's only on PC. A lot of people watch it, but it's usually big people with like 93,000, 100, 120,000 people watching them. And then you got the people at the bottom, like myself, with just a, you know, a few viewers, and you gotta hope that people are scrolling all the way down a page. So instead, you go play a game with only 7,000 viewers total, and then, you know, you can get some people that'll actually be like there to see you type of thing, rather than, oh, I want to go watch somebody play really well at this game. Because not everybody can play the game well. Not everybody's going to be the best. There's no chance. There's only the best that plays the best. Right now, there's a Valorant tournament. All of those players are the best in the world. I'm probably not going to be that good ever. I mean, that is the hardest game I've ever played. It's a, you know, point and click. You got to stand still to make the shots. It's very, very difficult. But the best of the best, they're playing that. So if I'm going to try to make my content, I have to just make decent content that people are actually going to want to, you know, come see me rather than come see how good I am at Valorant, because that's not going to happen. I mean, sometimes I'm decent, but I've had some clutch games. But other than that, you know, you got to have your community pretty much.
Yeah, I think that's like important to hit for people who might be interested in streaming, because they see it, they hear about it, like, oh, like I'm really want to try this, and it's like it's a grind. Like,
oh,
with
serious grind.
Any type of content, period, it's a grind. Like, I remember thinking when I first started this podcast, I'm gonna get 1,000 followers on Instagram. It's just gonna like blow up like that. No, that's not how that works.
No
like,
chance.
like realistically, the people in your life don't give a shit. They don't. Like, they'll support you, but most likely they're not going to show up and like,
they might give you a follow.
Yeah, they might. They might. So like, if you're going to do something, one, I think Miles said it best last week on my last episode. Like, learn from people who are better than you. Like, ask questions, study people who are better than you. Like, so,
sure.
Like, if you're a streamer, watch good streamers. If you're a podcaster, watch good podcasters. Reach out to people who also are in your community and like work with them and like build that base. Because, and I've even seen this in TikTok, like with my core following, those people rock with me to the core. Like, there's probably like a group of maybe like 100 to like, I'll say like 200 people that like I follow that are like, some I know, but some are strangers. They rock with my content, period. Like, I thought my account was gone. I made another account, and they all followed that account and followed me there. And like,
you gotta have
like,
a backup.
That's what I'm saying. So like, now I have a spam account and I have like my main account, and like the fact that like people rock with me like that people will comment and like, well, if I went live right now, a lot of people that I used to go live and would come into lives, like I would hold like, it would depend on it, because like TikTok's probably the hardest place to hold live viewers, because it's obviously an app made for scrolling.
Yeah.
But for someone who's not that big on that app, I could hold probably anywhere from 5 to 10 people in a live for like an hour. And like,
It's not bad.
it's constantly going in. So like, I've had lives that got up to close to like 50 people, and like people are, and TikTok, I'm just talking. I was literally just talking about stuff.
Yep.
And that people wanted to be a part of that. So like that made me, that's why I've thought about getting into the chatting version of kind of Twitch and like going down that route, and like out streaming on TikTok, going live on TikTok while streaming as well, putting the link in the bio, being like, hey, go check me out on Twitch.
Yeah, you can simulcast.
That's what I'm thinking is like, I might eventually, as this podcast progresses and I look towards my own future, kind of mentioned some of the details off podcast, as that progresses and I go to different places and kind of move on with my life, that is something that I do see for myself, and like trying to like go down the path. And especially if I know that you're doing it, there's definitely a chance for collabs there. And like, we'll definitely have to like explore those possibilities too, as we progress with that. We are getting towards like the end of the podcast. I do have one more question for you, but is there anything that you wanted to say, or any like closing statements that you want to say not tied to like that last question that I have for you?
I mean, not anything specifically.
Okay, cool. So I will give you the last question. What would your advice be to someone who wants to pursue their passion?
If you actually truly have a passion, actually truly, don't say, oh, I kind of like that, I kind of like this, I kind of like that. If it's your actual passion and you want to do it, you have to do everything you can to make it a reality. Like, as far as streaming for me, I was like, I love playing video games. I am very passionate about it. And I love talking to people in general. I mean, to an extent, I love talking to people, most people, but, you have to be willing to give it your all. Do everything you can in your power to make that a reality, instead of just, being like, oh, maybe it'll work, or, I'll give it a little bit of effort. You have to really give it your all and put yourself out there, and don't be afraid to make mistakes and, fail. You can fail every day. It doesn't matter. Tomorrow's another day. Keep going. You cannot stop if you want that to be what you want. If that's your passion and you want to go for it, you have to go for it.
Perfect. Danny, really appreciate you coming on this podcast and sharing your story and talking about streaming. For you guys, please check out his channel. I'll be tagging his Instagram, and I'm assuming you have the link too in your Instagram, right?
Yeah, and I'll give you a logo too and shit.
Yeah, so I'll have all the stuff so we could direct you guys to his content as well. So again, appreciate you for being on this podcast.
Thanks, no problem. Glad to be here.
For you guys, if you guys like the podcast, please rate, review, subscribe, share with your friends, share with your family, share with your grandma. Check it out at thecarrollconnection.simplecast.com. Also available Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the major listening platforms. Check it out on YouTube as well if you like to watch your podcast. So until next time, guys, peace.